The iris is a flower named after the Greek goddess who is believed to bring souls to the afterlife. It is a flower associated with faith, valor, and hope. The beautiful iris is surrounded by mythos and has inspired many for generations. So it only makes sense that this flower was chosen as a symbol by a truly inspiring woman, aiming to help as many people as possible through the dying process. For New Hope Hospice, started by the legendary Pat I. Now, I just want to make clear that this tribute today is not about New Hope, but instead about the particularly amazing woman who started it all. Without Pat, we would not have the hospice care we do in Maine today. This woman has worked tirelessly to make sure that no one goes through death painfully or without love. It's really hard to know where to start with Pat. She's lived such an astounding life. We could talk about her humble beginnings at Hilltop Orphanage, or her time spent overseas participating in international studies, or talk about the stories she would tell my sister Grace and I about how she loved birthing babies and taking care of others when she was younger. But I think the best place to start would be the early 1970s at Fairfax Hospital in Florida, where she essentially fell into hospice care and really started thinking about the end-of-life process.
A young man came in for surgery. It turned out that during the surgery, he had pancreatic cancer. And he did not know this, and he had a new bride, and she was forbidden to say anything about it, to have any conversation with him about what was really going on. I was off for a couple of days and I saw his obituary. I just thought, this is all wrong. These two people had not been able to say goodbye.
The death of this man, coupled with a few other end-of-life experiences, both clinical and personal, led Pat on a spiritual journey of emotional and physical comfort for the dying and their families. Although the topic of death is sad for most, Pat found a sort of joy in helping these people navigate one of the most vital stages of life.
And people would say, well, you know, that is so gross. Why would you want to be working at something like that? But there was joy in it. There was actually joy in it. And joy is a very spiritual thing. And I mean, it was sad. There was sadness as well, but when you knew that somebody was finishing their life in a way that was satisfactory to them, that was meaningful to them, it was such a good feeling. I never wanted to do anything else.
And that feeling plus sheer determination are what propelled Pat forward to her goal of providing the best end-of-life care that the world has ever seen. When Pat moved back to Bangor in 1981, she started a hospice program at St. Joseph's Hospital with her dear friend and colleague, Sister Rom. Pat was so passionate about hospice care, though, that St. Joseph's could only contain her for about 10 years, until she decided to start her own nonprofit out of the back of her own house and called it New Hope Hospice. And Pat's passion for hospice care and nursing in general was really unmatched. So much so that she eventually roped all the other women in my family into it. My aunt, Constance I, better known as Co, became her volunteer coordinator at New Hope Hospice. And my mom, Patience I, better known as Kitty, became a nurse, also at St. Joe's Hospital. And yes, also working at New Hope Hospice for a time. Even I volunteered. Occasionally I'd go with and walk a dog or provide fun conversation topics. Granted, I was about 16, so there wasn't much else I could do. But the love she showed others inspired both my sister and I, her grandchildren, to lead lives in acts of service, carrying her philosophies with us for the rest of our lives in everything we do. Since its inception, Pat and New Hope have helped so many people normalize and navigate death all around the state. Pat's work has been instrumental to the dying process in Maine, and I would argue is a big reason why we're all able to come together like this today. In the short 90 years she's been on this planet. Yes, Graham, I know it's 89, but I'm rounding up for dramatic effect. She's done so much for this community and is an integral part of hospice, of not only here, but around the country. Please join me in giving lifelong thanks to Patricia Irene Myque I for lifelong service as a hospice nurse in Maine.